Hello, today I'm going to talk about my two favourite professions, enchanting and tailoring. They are great for making gold in Classic as well as they are in retail. With Classic, enchanting is slightly tricky because selling the enchants needs to be done person to person. That said, you can still sell the mats on the auction house, and even better, they have no listing fee. Also, during the early stages whilst levelling, greater magic wands are fantastic for selling either on the auction house or direct to the vendor. Tailoring, on the other hand, makes a great partner for enchanting because you can craft greens relatively cheaply and therefore, if the prices are right on your server, make more gold by disenchanting what you make. The other thing with tailoring is being able to make bags, which in general are always a good seller. So what I've been doing is leveling both professions together and maximising my gold making opportunities to help fund both professions as I level them. This way, investment is minimal and I can use the gold I make to level the profession even more. This video will cover what you can do at early levels and how I have set up TSM to find the best prices for the materials I'm interested in. I'm going to go through how I've set up my groups. I have some sniping operations and shopping operations specific to certain materials. I'll go through my normal routine and explain what each operation is doing. This is a perfect thing to do on an alt. You only need to be level 10. However, there are more opportunities to make even more gold at higher levels, so do consider this for your main as well. Okay. Here we are at the auction house. Let's open up TSM and have a look at our shopping tab. So here we have a whole load of shopping operations, and normally I would start with a TSM scan. You can either type in /TSM scan or you can use a macro like I've set up here, TSM scan. So we'll let TSM do its thing. Now normally I just leave this running. It's not usually a good idea to start searching on the auction house while this is running. It doesn't normally take too long. So with that done, usually the first thing I do after doing a scan is just do a quick vendor search, just in case there happens to be anything on the auction house that I can quickly buy and resell to a vendor for a small profit. There's normally one or two things for a few copper each. So this is a 1 copper profit, there's 7 of those, so that's 7 copper. This is another 1 copper, so that's another 10 copper. Selling this straight back to the vendor, and that's again another 1 copper. So nothing massive, but it all adds to the coffers. We'll be going to the mailbox anyway, so it's worth doing. And then back to my shopping operations. So starting first off with the basic materials, let's look at linen cloth and then what we can do with that. So I've got a shopping operation here. So I've set my shopping operation for linen cloth to be anything under 40 copper because I've worked out a price that anything under 40 copper I can usually turn into a profit. If it was under 28 copper, then I could make that into linen bags and sell those direct to the vendor for a profit. However, now that we have enchanting and tailoring, what we can do is make brown linen robes and disenchant those for a potentially even higher profit, depending on the price of the materials. I'll just go through the maths of that to explain the thinking behind it. So if we look at linen bags, they have a vendor sell price of 2 silver, and it needs 3 coarse thread and 3 bolts of linen cloth. Coarse thread costs 9 copper, so 3 times of that is 27 copper. We take that off the vendor sell price here of 2 silver, which leaves us 1 silver 73 copper to then split between 3 bolts of linen cloth. 1 bolt of linen cloth takes 2 linen cloth to make, so we need 6 linen cloth to make 1 linen bag. So we divide that 1 silver 73 by 6, and then we get the value of 28 copper. It's actually like 28.83 recurring. So anything under 28 copper is going to be a profit. You can see here my normal average purchase price is actually 24 copper. I've been doing this for quite a while. Unfortunately, at the moment on the auction house we don't have any bargains to pick up today, but the auction house does move swiftly even during prime time, so it's worth looking out throughout the week. Now the flip side to this is we can actually make brown linen robes, and these I've got as a disenchant value of 3 silver 29. So that's higher than our vendor price of 2 silver. It's actually a little bit cheaper to craft because it only needs 1 coarse thread, not 3. However, the thing with the disenchant value is it's taking into account the market value of each of these items, the strange dust and the lesser magic essence. And what I really want to do is look at the disenchant value of these at their minimum buyout, just to give me a snapshot of what the market's like at the moment if I was to sell things at the most competitive price and undercutting everyone else. So what we need to do is go into our TSM settings, under tooltip settings, under destroying, we'll change this destroy value source, rather than being the market value, to actually be the minimum buyout. And that way, now when we look at this, we have a disenchant value which is slightly more pessimistic of 2 silver 64. So that's still higher than our vendor sell price. So if we were to do the math on that, that's 2 silver 64 minus the 9 copper for the coarse thread, which is 255, and divide that by 6, which leaves us 42.5 price per linen cloth. And then what I've done is just taken that value and rounded it down a little bit more pessimistically and set it to a maximum I'm going to buy linen cloth for of 40 copper. So when I do a shopping scan, we've got some more that's come in now at 39 copper, so people are undercutting. I know there's a good chance if I buy these up, disenchant these brown linen robes, make a good amount of strange dust, so long as they're selling on my server, I can then sell them for a potentially higher price than the raw materials used to buy them in the first place. But it is an averages game. What I'd actually be really after here is the lesser magic essence, because what I'd want to do there is turn those into greater magic essences and use those to turn into greater magic wands, which we'll go into a bit later. So currently with those prices, I could actually, with the market as it is, potentially sell linen bags for a small 54 copper profit. So if I was able to pick up more linen cloth for under 28, preferably 24, we could potentially make some here, but I don't have any at that price, and so my decision process here would be to go, okay, linen bags are not profitable because they're over 28 copper and I can't make them for that price currently, but the brown linen robes, I won't be selling that on the auction house, but I will be able to disenchant those for a slight profit if I can get them for under 40 copper. So as they are, the margins aren't quite high enough yet. You can see they're gradually going a bit lower and lower as people undercut each other. So I'll potentially be able to pick some up in the future. Maybe things like a bid there would be useful. Now the operations I've set up for these, if we go into TSM, so the group for linen cloth, it just has linen cloth in it, and I have a group operation there. So my linen cloth shopping operation and sniper operation are called linen cloth 40, and inside of there, the shopping operation there is simply 40 copper, and I'm not showing any auctions above max price because I don't really want to consider any at that price. And then the sniper operation is the same, 40 copper. So if I'm running a sniper buyout operation, it will pop up any linen cloth that's below that price, which means I've got a good chance of catching a nice bargain. So that's the linen cloth in its current state. I also have one for wool cloth, and I'm looking at wool cloth for a value currently of 35 copper. Now with my server at the moment, the woolen bags aren't a particularly great profit at the moment. You can see there my crafting cost is quite high at 8 silver 28. So the only reason I would buy wool at this stage would be if I managed to get it at a very cheap price, because even if I look at my other potential, if we go into tailoring here, so the equivalent green item that's the cheapest to make at the moment is heavy woolen gloves. That takes 3 bolts of woolen cloth, which take 3 individual woolen cloth, so that's 9 wool cloth for that. Now we do have a disenchant value here of 6 silver 33, that's a little bit more reasonable. The price of 1 fine thread, which is 90 copper. So 6 silver 33 minus 90 copper gives me 5 silver 43. Divide that by 9 gives me a price of 60 copper for our woolen cloth in order to make a profit. So that's potentially useful. Now this has a chance of making a greater magic essence rather than the strange dust, but the percentages are still on the strange dust's favour. At this stage I'm not doing this unless I find a particularly good bargain, but what I do in this case is just alter my shopping operation for wool cloth. I'm going to change this to 60 copper. So this is how you'd adjust it for your own server. 60 copper for that. I've got it to show auctions above max price, can turn that off if I want to. It all depends on whether you want to keep an eye on the overall market. And we'll do the same with the sniper operation. Change that to 60 copper. Okay, so that's wool and linen. I'm also into the silk territory now, where I can actually make things for a profit. I'm still using small silk packs to get myself up to 175. I've just gone over that now, and I can move into the mage weave territory. But in terms of operations for silk, it's similar to the other ones, whereas this time I haven't worked out a minimum for these. So at the moment with my silk, I'm just focusing on what I can make for a small profit in terms of leveling up and going for the bags, which I have been able to sell a few at a small profit, because as the bags get more and more specialist, the prices do go higher. So I'm looking forward to leveling up, seeing what kind of prices the bigger bags will offer. But that way, using the linen and the wool and the silk, I have been able to level up my profession while still making a profit, and therefore it's paid for itself as I've leveled up, which has been really handy at this stage. And I've also been funneling all those brown linen robes into my disenchanting, which has helped level up my enchanting. You can disenchant all the way up to 60 and get a skill up that way, and then you need to get to enchanting level of 110 to be able to then do the greater magic wands. I'd usually use a guide like Wowhead Professions to level up my professions if I don't know which one to make next. I'll post a link to that in the description below. And you can use some of that strange dust that you had in order to get yourself to the greater magic wand stage. This is probably why strange dust is still selling at the auction house at the moment, because people are using it to level up their enchanting. So those are my main 3 shopping groups here for cloth. Then I've also got a shopping operation for the bolts, just in case someone has put them on for a lesser price than my crafting cost. So they literally have all 3 of the bolts in here, and I have a group operation of crafting and sniper. This is again similar to my other operations. I am just literally looking at the crafting cost for my shopping operation, and exactly the same for my sniper operation. Just anything under crafting cost means that it's actually a bigger bargain for me to buy up the bolts rather than the individual cloth. And then I do have some posting operations for the actual linen bags, woolen bags themselves. So my linen bag operation is I've actually set some manual prices for these. I've taken into account the listing fee. I'm only going to post it up for 2 hours. And I've also set the maximum expires to 1, because once I've taken into account the auction house posting fee, if it gets below this, then it's really just worth me vendoring it. And then my maximum price, I've just set a manual price for each of those. And then my crafting operation, not that I really use this, because I'll be crafting however many that I've bought the linen cloth for, so I'll literally do it in batches depending on what I bought them for. But just for completeness, we do have a crafting operation here, which is 10% crafting as my profit margin, and maximum restock quantity of 4, just in case I wanted to use that in the future. And then same with the woolen bags. I've got the same crafting operation here, and then the crafting vendor DB market. We're actually using a more generic posting operation here for the woolen bags. This one is set to 8 hours, post cap of 5, which probably at this stage I wouldn't recommend. I would probably say more go with 2 hours, because the listing fee for 4 lots of 2 hours is the same as 1 8-hour slot. Sometimes it's even less because it's rounded down. And then 8 hours is 3 times 24 hours. The posting costs scale linearly. And because these aren't very long posting times, what I prefer to do is I'd rather post for 2 hours at a time during prime time and see if I can capture a sale that way, rather than do it in one fire and forget and potentially waste my potential markets because everyone's asleep. So that's something to bear in mind. I'm going to leave that at 2 hours. And then this is a very generic maximum 110% vendor sale, 110% crafting, and 80% DB market. This is my kind of currently generic one, but do bear in mind the listing fees could be potentially much higher than this, especially for BOEs. So I would really suggest checking manually before you post anything. Check the auction house deposit fee, because you don't want to end up selling things for a loss when you can either vendor it or disenchant it. And then my silk bag has a subgroup, the heavy leather for silk bag, so I'm looking out for any heavy leather at a cheap price. Now these are, I have a manual one for the silk bags, ×2 at 2 hours. So again, I've factored in the listing fee here. We've got post capper for 2 hours. And then we've got our crafting +2 silver, which is the deposit fee. And max expires is 2. There's a 1 silver deposit fee, so I've doubled it for 2 lots of listing, just in case. And then 200% crafting plus 2 silver, and 120% crafting plus 2 silver as my normal. So this is the current market I'm in. As you can see, I haven't really bothered with the woolen bags at this stage because I've not seen them in a profit for quite a while. Then my heavy leather group is just looking for average buy on each of these, which goes in and basically looks at anything that's underneath my average buy price, not showing anything above max price, so anything will ping up there. And then the same, we have a sniper operation for average buy, exactly the same, anything under my average buy will show up in a sniper operation. So this is really handy if you're either shopping or using the sniper. You can look for each of these things and we're using either a fixed price or we're using average buy or crafting in this case to try and find bargains on the auction house. So that's my current setup for tailoring. So anything that doesn't have a specific sniper operation does have this default mix assigned to it. This is actually assigned to my base group here. I've removed the default one and replaced it with my own here. And this operation is going to look at first the vendor sell -1 copper. So if I can find any small bargains that way, it will show up. Then if there's anything that shows up below my average buy price, I might be potentially interested. And then I've set for a very generic 10% DB market. So if something is way lower than the DB market, I might have a look at it. But really I want to look at this and I'd have to look at the item itself and decide whether it's worth buying. So that's my tailoring setup at this stage. And then moving on to the enchanting. So the main thing with enchanting is I'm looking for greater magic essence, because with greater magic essence I can make greater magic wands. I'm still skilling up on these. I can get myself probably to 150 on this, and I need to learn something else. But greater magic wands are great because they have a vendor sell price of 15 silver 35, and they only take 1 greater magic essence and 1 simple wood. So you'll notice if I go into the enchanting window here under TSM, we've got nothing showing a profit here because none of the enchants can be sold on the auction house. Now, even though we can sell the greater magic wand on the auction house, it doesn't actually come up as an option here. We just have the vendor sell price. So without any profit crafting costs or anything like this, we have to do a bit of working out ourselves. So greater magic wands, vendor sell price of 15 silver 35. I don't have any simple wood on me, so I'm just going to go buy some so we can have a look at the tooltip of that properly. Now thankfully all the low level supplies can be bought from these two people, Edna for the thread and this chap for the simple wood. So we go here and we can go over here. I'm just going to buy one at the moment so I can have a look on my tooltip. So simple wood will cost me 34 copper. So I take that off the price of 15.35, which is 15 silver and 1 copper. So therefore, if I can buy any greater magic essence for under 15 silver, then I can make these and vendor them for a profit. I could put them on the auction house. They currently have a min buyout of 17 silver, so that could be a potential profit putting a few of those up. But to be honest, I've just been vendoring them for convenience at the moment. But in terms of getting hold of greater magic essence, so we can do the brown linen robes and get the lesser magic essence 20% of the time, and then we get the strange dust to sell. But the other things we can do is actually find weapons within the level range 11 to 20. Any greens in that range have a good chance of disenchanting into greater magic essence. I've gone through and made a list of them all here, and you can see here in the tooltip they all say 75% greater magic essence. So ideally, we can see here we've got a disenchant value of 17 silver. So on average, once you take into account everything else, we're going to be able to make something that we can either make into a wand or we can sell the strange dust itself. The small glimmering shards I've not been able to sell at all yet, so those I'll have to find something to actually enchant into and maybe make some money that way. But it's only a 5% chance on those, so I've only got a few of them. Now in order to make this list, I use the TSM grouper, which I've shown in previous videos, and I did a list of everything from Wowhead, all the weapons between level 11 and 20 that were uncommon, that weren't bind on pickup, and I made a huge list. But the TSM group website doesn't always capture everything, because I don't think it's set up for Classic. So if there's anything that was taken out of the game, I don't think it shows. So there were quite a few missing. So what I then did is went through manually and cross-reference against the Wowhead and put in all the item IDs of the extra ones. So this is a complete list of all the ones that I found so far. I did notice there were quite a few of these in the list that TSM tells me make lesser astral essence rather than greater magic essence. So I've moved all of those over to a separate list. Now I haven't cross-checked these and tested out whether they actually are lesser astral essences or not, but I've kept them here as a list just in case you want to try them out yourself. These will all be in my paste bin when I export it, so you're more than welcome to use this list. Now this has a shopping operation of looking for anything that's under 17 silver, so I've allowed myself a little bit of margin there just because we don't know exactly what we're going to get. It's a bit random. Not showing anything above max price. Anything under 70 silver I'm definitely interested in buying. And then we also have a sniper operation which is pretty much the same, which is anything under 17 silver, please show me when you're sniping, and I might want to pick those up. So what we also have is a greater magic essence is in here, and we've got a very specific 14 silver, 95 copper. Anything under that, shopping or sniping, we'll pick those up. I've allowed myself a few copper extra, and again we're just going for a fixed value here for that, and the same for the sniper one, 14 silver, 95. And then what I've done is divided that value by 3 to give me the lesser magic essence, because they're interchangeable. You can turn one greater magic essence into 3 lesser magic essences, or 3 lesser magic essences into 1 greater magic essence. So if I manage to find any of these for less than a third of the price, then that will show up as well in both my shopping and my sniper operations. So we have that on the lesser magic essence group here. We're looking for those two here. And then strange dust, I've got my default mix for strange dust. I don't normally look for this, so I've left that as is. And then I've got a separate posting operation here for auctioning called dump 50% DB min buyout. So this is for me just throwing on any of my strange dust and see what kind of price I can get it for. I'm not too concerned about the price at this stage because I'm looking at strange dust as a byproduct of me getting hold of greater magic essence. So I consider strange dust as a little bit extra. So this operation is set to 24 hours because there's no listing fee for enchants. And then I've got the post cap of 5 times 20, which should be enough for me. I'll allow partial stacks. And then I've got set minimum price to 50% DB min buyout. Maximum price is 200% DB market. And then the normal price is DB market. And if it's at minimum price, I'm actually going to carry on posting at minimum price and see where that goes. But that's quite a big difference there, 50%. What I would also do is maybe just do a shopping post and look at the actual overall market before posting them on, just to see if I can get them on for a slightly better price, because maybe neat stacks of 5 or 20 or 10 might actually sell for a little bit more. You'll get a feel for the market as you do it more and more often. So those are my main groups at the moment, just for early enchanting and tailoring. As I skill up towards 225, I'm going to add in the extra cloth in here. I'll look for further disenchants that I'll be able to do down the line. This has enabled me to get these professions up to a reasonable level, and I'm currently sitting on 9 gold 45 at level 22, which isn't too bad really, all things considered. And the other thing I haven't mentioned is actually using the Disenchant Search that you can do here. Now this could give you some potential bargains of things that you could just disenchant and sell the raw materials back on, but unless you know what the actual things are and what kind of sale rate you're going to get for them, I would exercise caution until you know a bit more. Look for something that's got a decent return value and look at the averages. Like something like this opaque wand is in one of my lists anyway, so 11 silver is a good disenchant anyway to turn that into something that's probably going to be worth about 17 silver. So it's worth looking at this. Have a look at what each of these things are. Look into what enchants they'll be useful. Are they used for leveling? If you look at the leveling guides for enchanting, you can see where the materials are needed for leveling. So if it's one of those at a decent value, then you might be able to turn this into a reasonable profit. But it's quite easy to waste a lot of your gold if you get it wrong. So exercise caution and see where you land with it. But it's worth looking at just in case you might find a decent bargain within your price range. So that's it at that stage. I hope you found that useful. All the links will be in the description below. So until next time, happy gold making, and I'll see you very soon.